Okay, so in this video we're looking at exchange rates. Now, you might have seen this in airports and places like that. You're about to fly out to, say, Canada or somewhere in Europe, or maybe you're going to fly to Japan, and there's all of these cash exchanges where you can exchange your Australian dollars for whatever dollars of the country you're going to are. So this is what it's really all about. Now, one thing that you need to understand before we go into the maths of it is that those little kiosks in the airport, and even banks do this exchange stuff too, is that they're in the business of making money. So what they tend to do is buy they buy currency, like the New Zealand dollar, let's say. They buy it at one rate and then they sell it at a different rate. And the difference between those is going to be the profit. So I might go in there and say, I want to buy some New Zealand dollars. Someone else might go in and they say they want to sell some New Zealand dollars or they exchange New Zealand dollars for Australian dollars. It's all buying and selling. So they're trying to make a profit whenever they do that. Keep that in mind as we go through here. Now, if you look at this table, you can see that that reflects that. So Canadian dollars, they buy if you're buying Canadian dollars, it's 0.9224, and if you're selling, it's if they're buying and if they're selling. So if they're buying Canadian dollars from you, they're going to pay you 0.9224 Australian dollars, and if they're selling Canadian dollars to you, they're going to sell them at 0.8361 Australian dollars. So when it says buying and selling, what it really means is the shop, so the exchange, the shop is buying Canadian dollars from you, and the shop is selling Canadian dollars to you. So let's take a look at our first example here. If Carla exchanges 400 Australian dollars for New Zealand dollars, how much will she get? Now, the word exchange, it complicates matters a little bit, but really what's happening is Carla has 400 Australian dollars and she wants to buy New Zealand dollars. Now, if she wants to buy New Zealand dollars, that means that they need to sell New Zealand dollars to her. So what we need to do is go to our table and find New Zealand dollars, and we need to say, okay, New Zealand dollars, the shop is going to sell New Zealand dollars to me. So selling New Zealand dollars, here's the exchange rate. You sell New Zealand dollars for 1.1027 Australian dollars. So when we do this calculation, New Zealand dollars are going to be equal to the Australian dollars that we're selling for, so 400 Australian dollars, times the exchange rate, in this case 1.1027. And you can put that straight into your calculator and you're going to get a number from it. Okay, so if we pay 400 Australian dollars and we get New Zealand dollars, the New Zealand dollars we're going to get are $441.08. $441.08. So this is the first type of question you might get asked. It's the sort of question where you have Australian dollars, you take them to the exchange, and they sell you some other currency. And these are the steps. Here's my Australian dollars, multiplied by the exchange rate. Here's my answer. Make sure you use the selling column, not the buying column. Let's look at the second example. Okay, here's our second example. Now this is the reverse. So if Carla exchanges New Zealand $350 for Australian dollars when she returns, how much will she get? So it's still New Zealand dollars here, but the conversion is happening the other way. She's got New Zealand dollars and she wants to buy Australian dollars. Now, in terms of the kiosk, the little exchange booth, what they're actually doing is saying, okay, New Zealand dollars, and we're going to buy them from you. And you can see that they buy New Zealand dollars at 1.2163. Okay, so let's try that out. Now, when they're buying, it's going to look slightly different. So Australian dollars is equal to however many New Zealand dollars we have, so 350. But this time we need to divide by the exchange rate. We need to divide this time because we're going back the other way. And all of these quotes are in Australian dollars. Okay, so New Zealand dollars 1.2163. Okay, so when we do 350 divided by 1.2163, we'll convert back to Australian dollars. So you can see here that if you convert 350 New Zealand dollars to Australian dollars, you'll get $236.58. Where are we? $236.58. Okay, so there's our conversions back and forth. Now you really need to practice these and you really need to check your answers. We're going to make a lot of mistakes here on whether we're buying or selling. Make sure that you understand how this works. This says the kiosk is selling Canadian dollars to you. This says the kiosk is buying Canadian dollars from you. Just figure out what you've got in your hand and what the kiosk then has to do when it's doing the exchange. So it'll either be multiply or divide depending on what you're doing. Alright, give them a crack.